was I was the skeptic, and I don't know, Daryll, are you still the seeker?
Well,
I don't want to speak for you.
No, I'm not the seeker anymore.
Yeah, and I would bet that many, at least some of you, well, I don't know. I almost want to put it in the form of a question. How many of you, for those of you who are members of the Baha'i Faith, how many of you would say at least your journey to the faith started with skepticism? Anyone? Okay, just me. We have a hand. And for those of you who also might not be part of the Baha'i Faith or members of the faith, but friends of the faith, shall we say? How many of you would say, well, you're seeking? You at least might. The term seeker may be an accurate term for you at this time. Well, we both came from really different directions and ended up in the same place. So we do have someone who says they're a seeker. Okay, we both came from different places or different directions.
Different directions.
And ended up in the same place. And I just like to say that while I started out extremely skeptical, I was one of those people who I grew up very, very actively religious in the Christian church, grew up Baptist, Southern Baptist, and to even say anything that might seem to indicate the slightest doubt regarding the teachings of Jesus or the way it was being taught. I don't know if the word blasphemous would be the right term, but it certainly was frowned upon. And so you didn't say much of anything if you had questions. At least that was my upbringing. I don't want to speak in too general a fashion, but that was my upbringing. And so, whenever I'd start to hear anything about any other world religions, number one, it was no, they're wrong. And but number two, as I got older, I'll admit, even as a child, I had real questions, because at least the way that I was taught, shall we say, the way that I was taught, there's only one way. First of all, your main thing is you want to get into heaven. There's only one way into heaven, and that's through Jesus Christ. And even as a child, I wondered, well, what about all those other kids that live in other places? I don't know why I wasn't thinking about adults. It's like I didn't care about them at that stage. But, what about those other kids who are, in living in places where there are other religions that are the major religion? I didn't get any answers to that. So, I kept asking and started getting answers as an adult. But, at that time, for the longest time, I wondered, how could a loving God have a plan that logically excludes just so much of his creation, so much of his, created people? Right. Yeah, so that made me very skeptical. But once but I wasn't skeptical of the Christian faith. I had questions that were not answered, but my skepticism was when I started getting answers.
Sure.
I was very skeptical. So I'm just going to go ahead and stop there. And I guess right now it's to say that in this day and time, I've been a Baha'i for 28 years, and I'm very glad that I am.
Excellent.
Yeah.
28 years.
28 years, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. How about yourself?
My search started long before I became a Baha'i, actually, and I was raised CME, and for those of you who don't know what that is, it's Christian Methodist Episcopal. It used to be called Colored Methodist Episcopal, and then there was several whites that joined the church, and it became Christian Methodist Episcopal. And my father was very active in the church, and consequently, so was I. And even though I was raised in the CME church, when I got to high school, I got a scholarship to go to a Jesuit high school, and my parents were all for that. It was the start of a good education. So I went from a Protestant church to a Catholic church, and once I started school at the Catholic school, we had to go to Mass every day. And what was interesting about going to Mass was that I could attend Mass and I could take part in everything except communion. And the reason I couldn't take part in communion was because I wasn't baptized a Catholic. So to me, that kind of started raising questions about not just the Catholic Church, but about the way I was raised and about other religions. And I couldn't understand why we all studied from the Bible, and why were there so many divisions? Why were there Lutherans and Episcopalians and Methodists and Catholics and you name it? It didn't make sense to me because we were all studying from the Bible, and there were just so much divisions. Well, eventually I came to think of that whole thing as potato. It was all the same thing, but you say potato, I say potato. And so for years, I would get invited to different churches, and I would go check out different churches. So I was a seeker long before I became a Baha'i. And from a career standpoint, I worked for Big Pharma, and I worked for Bristol Myers Squibb for years, and they liked moving me around the country. And every time we moved to someplace different, I would always have someone approach me and say, "Hey, Daryll, are you looking for a church home? Have you found a church home yet?" And the first thing out of my mouth would be, "No, I'm not looking for a church home." Because by that time in my life, I had kind of given up on what I called organized religion, just completely given up on it. But if someone asked me about my beliefs, if they wanted to know that I believe in God, absolutely I believed in God. And I would stand on my pedestal and I say, "I'll testify to God's existence to anybody that wants to know. And I'll testify to Jesus' existence to anybody that wants to know." And I would stand up and I would say, "A lot of birds ate yesterday, and it wasn't my hand that fed them. So, that had to be something greater than me. And if that was God, then that was my God, because God took care of all creation." So that was the beginning. That was about middle of my search. And before I go, I'll end my phase of it right here for a little while. I'll tell you about the rest later. In the meantime, I think Tony wants to play a song.
People running around every day wondering why things are changing so fast. Don't know what to do, don't know what to say. Got so many questions to ask. From pillar to post, from coast to coast, confusion all across the land. A hidden word is what I'd like to say, but tell me would you listen, my friend? And I'm so glad I know about the blessed beauty. So glad I know about the blessed beauty. I wanna praise His name. So much depression, so much aggression. What's real and who can you trust? Is the purpose of life all struggle and strife? Does it end in ashes and dust? God really cares and He hears your prayers if you only take time to pray. If you can't find the words, you can still be heard. He knows what you're trying to say, yeah, that's why I'm so glad I know about the blessed beauty. So glad I know about the blessed beauty. I I just want, I want to praise his name. So glad I know about the blessed beauty. I just want, I want to praise his name. People running around every day, wondering why things are changing so fast. Don't know what to do, don't know what to say, got so many questions to ask. But if they take some time and see the signs, they see the sunshine through the rain. 'Cause God sent down his blessed beauty. Bahá'u'lláh is his name, and that's why I'm so glad, oh, so glad, oh, so glad. I know about the blessed beauty, so glad I know about the blessed beauty. I just want, I want to praise his name. Oh, Bahá'u'lláh, 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 oh. Bahá'u'lláh. Thank you. Thank you very much. So glad I know about the blessed beauty. There's another song that I'm sure some of you have heard, another song called, you know, in Baha'i circles, I'm so glad Baha'u'lláh has come. So this is just our little, kind of a different way of approaching it. So Daryll, you said that you had quite a bit of experience going to different churches and so forth.
Excuse me, yes, I had friends who would invite me to go to church with them, and because I was still seeking, I was looking for the church that was going to be my church home, and at some point I stopped looking, but because I was working for a specific company, a computer company, I started working for, and the very first day that I started working for this company, I met a young man whom I knew that day that we would be friends for life. When we met in our orientation program, and I don't know how I knew that we would be friends for life. I just knew that his approach to me was just so straightforward and kind that there was no way we weren't going to be friends. Well, as we continued to work together, we would go out to lunch, and it seemed like every time we'd go out to lunch, he would ask some question about religion. Excuse me, and I would always tell him, look, I am not interested in any organized religion. I'm just not, because I had so many bad experiences with, you know, all kinds of churches you could imagine, and I just said, no way.
Daryll, I have to stop you, man. I've got to stop you, and I do this a lot. I just will go ahead and tell you all that. When we do our Sunday, I think you're being a little tough on him, man.
You think I'm being a little tough? I was being tough on him. I was.
See, my thing was, I wasn't looking because even though I didn't have all the answers I wanted, I felt like I was set. And I got to tell you, if I heard what you were saying, Before I started studying the Baha'i writings and was quite comfortable in the Christian church, one of several that I belonged to through the years, I'd be a little ticked off with you right now. I mean, what about, hey, look, you just haven't found the right church.
Well, fortunately, he was patient with me.
Okay.
And, you know, even though we have these ongoing conversations about religion, and I would often, you know, very often tell him, look, I'm not interested in talking about this. But I would always let him know that I did have a strong belief in God. I had a very strong belief in God, and I didn't mind testifying to God's good works and God's influence in my life and that kind of thing.
Okay.
But I just I didn't think I needed a church for that to be part of my life. I knew that spiritually, that I felt I had been blessed, even though I didn't have the benefit of the social organization that churches provided. And for me, church was more social than it was spiritual.
Okay.
So one day we're headed back from lunch, and we're talking about religion again. And I said, you know, I always felt that religion should be that glue that binds us together, and not the match that someone is going to hold to a bomb that's going to blow us apart.
Okay.
Now, he was driving the car. He stopped the car. He pulled over to the side, grabbed me by the shoulders, turned me around, and he said, you need to talk to the Baha'is. And I said, what do you mean? I don't, you know, I don't know. And he had talked to me a little bit about the Baha'i Faith. And I just said, you know, it was kind of, yeah. You know, that sounds really too good to be true. So he kept inviting me to devotionals. And finally, one Sunday, I said, okay. I talked to my wife and I said, okay, we're gonna go to this devotional. Now, he had warned me that, you know, the devotionals were multicultural, that I would hear prayers in English, I would hear prayers in, and there was in their group at the time, there was a French lady. I would hear prayers in Spanish. Whoever showed up on that Sunday would say prayers in their individual languages. And sure enough, we get to this devotional, and after we get there, we're sitting there, and there was a gentleman that some of you may know by the name of Fred Johnson. And Fred's an incredible singer, and he was at the time very into the faith. And sure enough, we heard prayers in English, in French, in Spanish, and then this young lady started chanting a prayer in Farsi. And by the time she was done chanting this prayer, I was in tears. And I looked over at my wife, and she was in tears. The prayer was so beautiful, and the chant was so beautiful that it touched our hearts. And from that day on, I knew that I was going to, you know, I had to be part of this faith because it talked to my spirit. The whole idea of the faith started talking to my spirit. And then, you know, after that Sunday, we couldn't help but go back every Sunday after that, because the same group was there, and the group that introduced the faith to us and taught us the faith, they didn't just start talking to my head, because I believe that's the easiest thing you can do, is talk to someone's head. The way that they brought us into the faith was they loved us into the faith.
Wow.
They loved us into the faith. They started answering all the questions that I had. When my Christian background, when I started asking questions, a lot of times I was put aside, or I was shoved off, or the answers just weren't there.
Okay.
So this group that taught us the faith just loved us into the faith. And at some point in time, they said, okay, now you have to, if you want to declare, and we didn't know what that declare meant, you know, but if you want to declare, you have to do it in your own community. And I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute, what do you mean? This is not my community? You know, I'm here every Sunday. We're socializing with these people. We're doing everything with them, and it's not my community. What do you mean? So they said, no, you live, because we live on the other side of the bay. We have to get together some folks over there so that you can declare in your community. So they introduced us. We decided we were going to have a fireside at our house, and 2 members of our community came, and we talked for a little while. And after about a half hour, we said, okay, we're ready to declare. Now, those 2 members of the new community had no idea that we had been studying the faith for months.
Okay.
So they were a little surprised that we were ready to declare after a half hour of talking to them.
They thought they were good.
They thought they were really good.
We've convinced you in 30 minutes or less. Okay.
Sure, but it seemed that after we declared, I stopped seeking. I stopped seeking because I really felt that I had found a spiritual home, not just a church home, not just some social organization, but I had found a spiritual home.
I wish I could say that my path was, I don't know, that's a nice, neat, you met the right people and they loved you into the faith, and I got pulled in kind of kicking and screaming. I was in graduate school at the time. I know you've heard this story, but I was in grad school at the time. Not terribly, I was in graduate school. I was, 21, 22 years old. I was, living life, not deeply involved in the church at that time, but still deeply committed to my faith in Jesus. And this was in the 70s, right? 78 to be exact. And some Baha'is, young Baha'is, I was in South Carolina at the time, and some young Baha'is came knocking on me and my roommate's door of the trailer that we were living in. It was not a good life. But they came knocking on the door, and like I said, it was in the 78. They were hippies. To look at them, they were hippies. They were young hippies. It was the 2 guys and a young lady, and the 2 guys had beards, and one of them had on a thick leather jacket with, a fur, I don't know, I'll call it fur. It looked like sheep's wool collar. Either way, they came, and they were very nice people. They were very nice people, and they came and they talked to us about Bahá'u'lláh. Now, I said it was me and my roommate. They actually had a fireside right there. Now, we lived out, it was a college town, but we were in a rural area. And so there were a lot of trees, a lot of branches and so forth. And they had a fireside with a real fire. They got branches and they started a fire. And we were sitting now around the fire, and they're telling us about Bahá'u'lláh, and one of them had a guitar and he's singing some songs. And I was very polite. My roommate was very polite. But while being very polite, I'm in my mind thinking, I don't know what y'all talking about. You ain't saying Jesus. I ain't interested. But I didn't say any of that out loud, Now, much to my surprise, after they had finished, it's been too long ago, I don't really remember everything they did. I know there were songs, I know there were readings. But what blew me away the most was my roommate declared there on the spot.
Wow.
And I thought, see you, Matthew, you're going to hell. No, but I wanted nothing to do with it. And basically never thought about it again until, again, years later, 17 years later to be exact. And I ended up having a student who, I was a speech professor at the time. Okay, and I had given an assignment. I remember the assignment was you had to write a speech on a person that you feel more people should know about, a deceased person that you feel more people should know about. And this young lady, Fariba Mansouri is her name. She gave a speech on Bahá'u'lláh. And of course, I recognized the name, but a part of me was kind of feeling, as a professor, you got a lot of nerve, But she said things that I could not deny resonated with me, but I didn't want to admit it. And so this is what I did in my skepticism. I told her, they had to cite sources, and I told her, I've never heard of any of these sources you've cited. I'd like to see some of your sources. My real point, real reason was, and frankly, it wasn't interest. It was, this sounds too good. I know something's wrong here. Okay, and she was very kind and brought some of the books. I remember one of the books she gave me was Thief in the Night, which she had cited. She brought a book representing everything she had cited. What I did not know is that I had opened up a door for dialogue. And she was so gentle with this dialogue. She wasn't pushy.
Yeah.
She was really kind of tricky. She'd come by my office. She'd leave me like one book at a time, most of the time, one book. And we had our student-teacher relationship very, very appropriate. But once in a while, she'd come by my office and ask if I was finished with her book. Had I read the book? Did I have any questions? And I did. And she would teach me the faith. And then she'd ask for the book, and she'd ask me if I wanted another book. Okay. And I still had not let go of my skepticism, but it was lowering. And I remember unquestionably, I've heard a lot of people say the thief in the night was what made them feel like this is definitely the return of the Spirit of Jesus Christ. That did not get me. I loved the book. What got me was the hidden words. Something in my soul. Talk to him. Yeah.
He's tearing up here. I get it. I understand.
It was just so beautiful.
Yeah.
And it got me here.
Sure.
And okay, I'm getting back together now. Getting back together. I knew this is the Word of God. This is not a gifted poet.
Right.
This is not a gifted author. This is the Word of God. Pick your instrument up, man. No, wait, hold on. I got to get myself together. I'm sorry, folks. This was not part of the plan. This was not part of the plan. And usually I can get through this little story and have no problems with it. But it's just that it's like for a moment I was back in that moment. You know?
Yeah,
Hang on.
of course.
This is your fault. Lay everything on you.
Daryll, you know that I didn't introduce you and Tony, and this is being recorded. So I am one of the worst hostesses that God has ever created. And you agree with that.
But yeah, she she kept teaching me the faith, and every once in a while she'd invite me to a fireside, which I would not go to. Yeah, I'm reading. Yeah, I'm loving these words, and yes, I mean, obviously I tear up, I break down, but at that time I'm still looking for what's wrong, because it's just that. Imagine winning the lottery. And you've been buying tickets, not that I condone it, but you've been buying tickets for years and years and years and years and years. If you see you've got the winning number, I'm sure there's a lot of elation. But for some people, it's like, nah, this can't be it, or something. And that was my impulse at that moment, was this is so good that it's too good. And so I kept trying to find what was wrong, which of course kept opening the door for more study, for more discussions, for more sharing. I got to know her family. She is and was married, and her little children now are grown, grown adults. But like I said, she kept inviting me to firesides, which I would not go to. And then for some reason, there was a particular time she invited me to a fireside. It was at Camby's and Pharaoh Rouhani's house. And I do not know why. To this moment, I cannot explain why. But I was filled with urgency. I felt like I need to be there. And I went, and I won't go through the details of that fireside, but when I crossed their threshold, the threshold into their home, had I declared no? But at that moment, in hindsight, I saw and felt something that put it in my heart. Tell them about this song, man.
Choice Wine?
Yeah, tell them about the song.
This song is one that Tony wrote. And I remember the first time I heard it, I had picked up this instrument, and even though I had never heard the song before, I knew that I was going to play along with this song. And from that time to this, what comes from me through this instrument is never from me. I have to close my eyes when I play it, because I'm afraid if I open my eyes, I'll ruin the song. I'll destroy it. But and I don't know what it is that about this particular song that flows through me, but it always does. And it's I think it's just the magic that he was able to write it at all, to put it together. But
well, this was one of those that I really
it has
feel
become one of my favorites.
I really feel like, and I've heard other songwriters say this, there are some songs they wrote and there are some songs that they didn't write, they just wrote it down. And this is the way I feel about this one. I think it's better without the drum. What do you think?
Yeah,
okay.
I think it is.
Bisharat, Tarazah, Tajaliyah, Ishrika, Kalimati, Firdausiye, Kalimati, Firdausiye, Bisharat, Tarazah, Tajaliyah, Ishrika, Kalimati, Firdausiye, Kalimati, Firdausiye, glad tidings, ornaments, effulgences and splendors, holy words of paradise, holy words of paradise, words revealed by my Lord, gift of life through my Lord, hidden words now revealed, choice wine now unsealed by my Lord. now unsealed by my Lord, now unsealed by my Lord, now unsealed by my Lord. In the writings of Bahá'u'lláh, it is written, the seal of the choice wine of his revelation hath in this day, and in his name the self-sufficing, been broken. Its grace is being poured out upon men. Fill thy cup and drink in his name, the most holy, the all-praised. Bisharat, Tarazat, Tazalia, Ishrika, Kalimati, Verdosie, Kalimati, Verdosie, words revealed by my Lord, Word of God through my Lord, hidden words now revealed, choice wine now unsealed by my Lord, 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 now unsealed by my Lord. Thank you. Say something, Daryll.
I don't know what it is you want me to say.
Well, I'll tell you what. Okay, you talked about you were ready. You said you were ready to declare, and I just talked about how once I walked into those wonderful people's homes, and it was a wonderful fireside. I, in my spirit, became a Baha'i. But you know what? I didn't sign no card. I didn't ask to sign a card.
Yeah.
Did not ask. But I was on the journey, and Fariba, one thing that was the point where I started feeling loved into the faith. Maybe that wasn't the point, but that was the point where I started becoming very conscious of it. I mean, Fariba and her family have been very kind and gracious. I think by that time I had actually visited them in their home. No, that's not true, because the first home I went to was Camby's in Farris, and was very much impressed with the kindness and the diversity of the group that was there impressed me. I mean, you got to remember, growing up in the South, there were a few times I remembered white people being in our church. And it was usually when a member of someone a school teacher died. Schools were still segregated. Okay, but even though the schools were segregated, there was one superintendent. There was one school system. And the only time I remember seeing, anyone who was not black in our church was when somebody died. And that was, teacher died, superintendent would come, say some words, and that was the end of it. You would drive past, multiple churches. There was a church darn near on every corner. And you drive past multiple churches, and there were churches you knew that if you went there, you simply weren't going to be welcome. And here I am walking into a home of people from so many different backgrounds. And the funny thing is, it mattered to me, but it didn't seem to matter anybody else. I didn't say anything, but I noticed it. I couldn't help noticing it. And it was like, you're looking through a window at what we believe in.
Sure.
And that's what it was like for me. But they didn't stop there. I mean, I enjoyed that fireside. They asked, somehow, I don't remember who invited me. You remember Raison and Happy Dobbs?
Yes.
Okay. They were still living in the area. Both of them have since passed away. But for whatever reason, I was told to go and visit them at their home, which I did. And I went there alone. I don't remember why, but I went there alone. And their home, a wonderful home. Did you ever go to their home?
No.
I know you all don't know the people we're talking about, but I have to tell you about this home because it was like you walked into another world. It was a fairy tale world. The furniture and everything was otherworldly. It was all beautiful, and they were so kind and gracious and so forth. And I left there with some more books, and my first cassette tape of Baha'i prayers and songs. And I listened to them over and over and over again, but still not declared. Still not declared. And I think the people who were now, nurturing me in their wisdom, nobody asked me to declare yet. And then that year, it was the birth of Bahá'u'lláh. And I was invited to this party for the birth of Bahá'u'lláh, this celebration for the birth of Bahá'u'lláh. And I went, and of course, as you know, lots of food, lots of Persian dishes and American dishes, and it was wonderful, and lots of music, and it was there that Fariba, she came to me. I'm sitting at a table eating, and she asked me some questions. Basically, how do you feel about this? I don't remember the words specifically, but they were along the line of, how do you feel about this? Yeah, I feel wonderful about this. And do you believe that, Baha'u'lláh is the messenger of God for this day? Absolutely. Well, do you think you'd like to declare? I don't think she said declare. I think she said sign a card saying that you believe that Baha'u'lláh. And that's when I put on the brakes. Hold on here. Hold on. You want me to sign something? I didn't say that, but inside there was this boom, all of a sudden stopped. And then I thought about it. And it didn't take me long to think about. But I knew I wasn't just saying something to make her happy. I was speaking from my heart. Yes, I believe that Baha'u'lláh is the messenger of God for this day. Yes, I believe in progressive revelation and that the prophecies of Jesus have come true. It's not the way you thought. It's not the way the ministers told you it was going to be. No, there's not somebody coming down from the sky. No, there aren't stars falling to earth. No, there aren't people coming out of their graves. But the dead are rising, and the word of God has returned in the form of man. And I couldn't deny it. And I went from hold it to let's get this thing done. You know, let's get this thing done. And I don't think I was the only one who declared that night. I'm pretty sure I'm not. There were a few others. But I do remember, what I mainly remember is the shift. I mean, the fact that by this time frankly, I'm reading voraciously. I'm just reading. I had fallen in love with Gleanings. I was already in love with Hidden Words, of course, but I had fallen in love with Gleanings. The story that I had been told, and that's one thing that was so important to me, the story. Because frankly, as far as my Christian faith, that's one of the things that made me so, not necessarily in my behavior all the times devout, but my belief devout, was there was a story, and there was an absolute story. And even if the story might not be 100% true, you felt like it was. And there wasn't just a story, there were pictures on windows.
Sure.
There were pictures. There was a baptismal pool in my church, and then behind the baptismal pool, there was this big painting of a garden, this beautiful garden. It's like you are being baptized and heaven is like this, and so forth and so on. Throw in a few Renaissance pictures, and it's very, 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 you know, it bolsters. Yeah.
Yes.
And I now find this faith where I know a whole bunch of pictures. You want to see what Bahá'u'lláh looks like? Nope. Can't show you that. Sorry, you're going to have to go on pilgrimage if you want to see that. But the story of sacrifice and revelation. Wow.
Well, I have to say that you talked about progressive revelation.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, the thing that really made sense to me because I was seeking for so long and had questions about, you know, what is my relationship with God? What is my responsibility if I am to have a relationship with God? And when it came down to getting a better understanding, it all started, and I think we've talked about this. For me, it started with someone explaining to me about the covenant that God made with mankind.
Yes.
And when God created man and said, I will never leave you alone. To me, that made perfect sense especially considering the fact that God had created not just our physical beings, but our spiritual beings. And when he created man, we were spiritual infants.
Yes.
And like any infant, you aren't going to have a great deal of understanding about anything that's going on around you. But for every stage of man's development, spiritual development, God sent a different messenger. And to me, that made so much sense that it just kind of locked it into me that, you know, for every stage in man's development, God sent a different messenger. And when you look at what each one of those messengers had to go through to make sure that the message got all over the world, it's incredible. And it's incredible in most cases that the message did get around the world, considering that if in Jesus' time, his message went all over the world, and we didn't have radio and TV and all the communications systems that we have today.
I'm gonna cut you off right there, man, because I had a question that never got answered. Still don't have an answer to this day.
Okay.
You know, the whole Sermon on the Mount, Jesus fed 5,000 people. I don't think I'm getting my stories mixed up. Were they the same event? Do you remember? No. They were not the same event. No. But at some point, there were all these people that heard this. And I'm like, 5,000 people. That's a lot of people.
Right.
No amplification system.
Right.
How did everybody hear it? You don't have to answer the question. That was one of those crazy questions I had. I'm sorry. Go ahead. We're not playing this. We are not playing this. I just want to play this. You don't have to play along. I'm not saying you don't. I'm not still doing the whole song. I'm just going to do the first beginning of it, because this line moved me from, at first, skepticism to joy.
Okay.
And it's a whole song, but we're not going to do the whole song. He who is the best beloved is come. He who is the best beloved is come. He who is the best beloved. He who is the best beloved. He who is the best beloved is come. Do it one more time. He who is the best beloved is come. He who is the best beloved is come. He who is the best beloved. He who is the best beloved. He who is the best beloved is come. Okay, I'm gonna do some more. Let us praise him. Let us praise him. Let us praise him. Bahá'u'lláh. Let us praise him. Let us praise him. Let us praise him. The glory of God. I'm sorry, man. It's just joy. That's all. So, you know, if you were to say, I mean, you've already said some things, but what would you say was something that stood out to you as far as that, for whatever reason, built this belief, this belief in this revelation?
It was learning that the Baha'is didn't just talk the talk; they walked the walk. Every gathering that I attended, just about, was multicultural. Every gathering was multicultural, and just looking at the diversity within the faith, said to me that, you know, this wasn't just lip service. This is.
I'm going to stop you there, Daryll. You make it sound like Baha'is are perfect people, man.
No, they're not. I'm not saying that Baha'is are perfect people. What I will say is that among the people that I've met in my lifetime, they are the ones who at least strive to get to be perfect, and without there's very little pretense in the people that I meet. They truly want to be, you know, messengers of God on in this world. And
I got to tell you,
that line in the you know, in the Lord's Prayer, "Thy kingdom come, Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven."
Yeah.
You know, they are working towards that.
Yeah. And I got to tell you, again, growing up African American in the South, one thing that really, again, the diversity stood out to me. For whatever reason, I have no doubt that if you look hard enough, you can find Christian churches with diverse
absolutely.
Congregations. You know, and not to, I don't want anyone to think that I'm disparaging Christianity. It's just that that was my personal experience. And you know, there's good reason if you go into a society where it's a, you know, homogeneous society, that everyone's going to look the same. But this is not a homogeneous society.
That's right.
This is a very diverse society, and yet people who claim to believe the same thing couldn't go to the same building
Right.
and give thanks and praise.
Right.
And here is a faith that, number one, it is a, how do I say it? It is a continuation of progressive revelation of all of the faiths before it, but it's also, to me, a writing, R-I-G-H-T-I-N-G, a
Yes.
writing of a ship that has kind of capsized.
Right.
And these writings, W-R-I-T-I-N-G-S, set the ship back straight for those that want to get on board.
True.
I think I'm just going to have to write that later on. But yeah, I
There's a
mean,
new song in there somewhere. And for those of you who don't know Tony, he writes it like a song, I think, every 2 hours.
well, there's so much music in to me, two of the most wonderful songwriters, lyricists, and I'll say three, are Bahá'u'lláh,
Bahá'u'lláh
Abdul-Baha, and the Bab.
and the Bob. Yeah.
I cannot say Shoghi Effendi in that. I'm sorry. Although I love Shoghi Effendi's writings, not very lyrical. This is a song called We Are One Family. O children of men, know ye not why we created you all from one same substance, from the same dust, that no one should exalt himself over the other? Ponder at all times in your hearts how ye were created. Since we have created you all from one same substance, it is incumbent on you to be even as one soul, to walk with the same feet, eat with the same mouth, and dwell in the same land. That from your inmost being, by your deeds and actions, the signs of oneness and the essence of detachment may be made manifest. We are one.
We are one
Family.
family,
One mankind.
one man,
One humanity.
one humanity.
Walk with the same feet. Eat with the same mouth. Dwell in the same land. That one indeed is a man who today dedicateth himself to the service of the entire human race. The great being saith, blessed and happy is he that ariseth to promote the best interests of the peoples and kindreds of the earth. In another passage he hath proclaimed, it is not for him to pride himself who loveth his own country, but rather for him who loveth the whole world. The earth is but one country, and mankind its citizens. We are one family, one mankind, one humanity. Waves of one sea, fruit of the same tree, leaves of the same branch. We are one thou be of the inmates of the city within the ocean of divine unity. Thou wilt view all the prophets and messengers of God as one soul and one body, as one light and one spirit, in such wise that the first among them would be last, and the last would be first. For they have all arisen to proclaim his cause, and have established the laws of divine wisdom. They are one and all, the manifestations of his self, the repositories of his might, the treasuries of his revelation, the dawning places of his splendor, and the day springs of his light. We are one family, one mankind, one humanity, one God, God of all, one faith, faith in him, one race, all mankind. We are one. We are one family. We are one family. We are one family. In our gatherings, we are one family. In our faith, we are one family. And when everything, every word here is straight from Bahá'u'lláh.
Straight.
This is not just, like I said, this is not a good idea. I've said on several occasions, it's a good idea because it's God's idea.
True.
And so anyone who, for whatever reason, can read this revelation, because that's what it is, the writings of this revelation, and not be moved enough to at least search, at least look. I mean, you came in as a seeker.
I came in as a seeker, for
Like
sure.
I said, I came in as a skeptic. I came in as a denier that turned into a skeptic, that turned into a seeker.
That turned into a believer.
Yes. So different paths, same destination.
Sure.
It's a beautiful place to be.
Sure.
You know, I don't know if we've gone over time. I don't remember how much time we were supposed to go on. We kind of, it's not as if we didn't discuss what we were going to do and plan and so forth. But sometimes we're open to moving in a different direction as we are.
One more, please.
How about our theme song?
Okay, all righty, okay. All righty, this is another, there are certain songs, one of which you just heard, that we kind of think of, at least I have come to think of them as musical sermons, and it's because of the long spoken portions. And this is one of them. And this is, again, one of those writings, one of those passages, one of those lines, I should say, that anyone who, oh wow, I have problems talking. Anyone who reads this and say, well, that's nice, but it's never going to happen, or that's nice, but you know, for people who can't accept it, these things seem impossible.
Right.
Even those people who say they believe in, you know, the writings of Jesus Christ. But the very thing that Jesus prophesied about, they hear it, or some, because I was some of the they, I was part of the they, who can hear it and turn. No, it's like sticking wax in your ears. And if you take those wax out, or as Bahá'u'lláh says, lift the veil. And I don't know if you can lift your own veil, but the teachings are there.
They are.
To help you lift those veils and accept all people as your family, as you know, and see the humanity and the God in them, and see that they are one of God's creations as well as ourselves. And when often in Baha'i circles, and this is one of those things that I'm sure really impressed me, but I still heard with some skepticism, and that is that the world's problems have spiritual solutions.
Absolutely.
I'll admit, I'm like, you know, yeah.
Well, we've learned that the world's problems are not solved by social order or political order.
Yeah.
Or, you know, the world's problems, they have spiritual solutions, and at some point, if you're a thinking individual, you know, that kind of becomes obvious.
Yeah.
So, this particular song is another one of those songs that shares with the rest of the world a vision that we would all love to see. And the song is "Let Your Vision Be World Embracing." So that means that can't happen unless you decide that you're going to embrace humanity.
Yeah.
Before you embrace anything else.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. How vast is the tabernacle of the cause of God? It hath overshadowed all the peoples and kindreds of the earth, and will ere long gather together the whole of mankind beneath its shelter. The day of service is now come. Arise for the triumph of my cause, and through the power of thine utterance, subdue the hearts of men. Thou must show forth that which will ensure the peace and the well-being of the miserable and the downtrodden. Let your vision be world-embracing. Let your vision be world-embracing. Let your vision be world-embracing. Oh, oh. It is incumbent upon every man in this day to hold fast unto whatsoever will promote the interest and exalt the station of all nations and just governments. each and every one of the verses which the pen of the high hath revealed. The doors of love and unity have been unlocked and flung open unto the face of men. We have erewhile declared, and our word is the truth. Consort with the followers of all religions in a spirit of friendliness and fellowship. Let your vision be world embracing. Let your vision be world embracing. Let your vision be world embracing. Whoa, whoa. Be world embracing. Let your vision be world embracing. O people of justice, be as brilliant as the light, and as splendid as the fire that blazed in the burning bush. The brightness of the fire of your love will no doubt fuse and unify the contending peoples and kindreds of the earth, whilst the fierceness of the flame of enmity and hatred cannot but result in strife and ruin. We beseech God that he may shield his creatures from the evil designs of his enemies. He verily hath power over all things. Let your vision be world embracing. Let your vision be world embracing. Let your vision be world embracing. Oh, oh. Watch over yourselves, for the evil one is lying in wait, ready to entrap you. Gird yourselves against his wicked devices, and led by the light of the name of the all-seeing God, make your escape from the darkness that surroundeth you. Let your vision be world-embracing, rather than confined to your own self. These are the words of Bahá'u'lláh. Be world embracing. Let your vision be world embracing. Let your vision be world embracing. drummer didn't want to stop. Let your vision be world embracing. I challenge anyone to hear that line alone and not just moved, but moved to seek. If you have not already accepted, to seek even with skepticism. Just seek.
Truth. Yes.
And maybe, and even, there was something that I wanted to read. We don't have enough time. It's actually rather lengthy. And it's from Hidden, and it's not from Hidden Word, it's actually from Gleanings.
We have a lot of time.
Oh, we do?
Yes.
Well, you know what? I'm gonna read this. I'm gonna read this. This is from Gleanings from the Writings of Bahá'u'lláh. And I'm not going to sit here and say, well, this is one thing that grabbed me, because there was so much that grabbed me. But here is just one passage from Gleanings. And so I will read it. It's a little lengthy. But I want you to listen and see how much is in here that if you are a person who feels the importance of being spiritually nourished, if you can't find something in here, I don't know what to tell you. And you know what? I don't think that's what I'm looking for. Okay, but no, this is what I'm looking for. Okay. Say, doth it beseem a man, while claiming to be a follower of his Lord the All-Merciful, he should yet in his heart do the very deeds of the evil one? Nay, it ill beseemeth him. And to this, he who is the beauty of the All-Glorious will bear me witness. Would that ye would comprehend it. Cleanse from your hearts the love of worldly things, from your tongues every remembrance except his remembrance, from your entire being whatsoever may deter you from beholding his face. This is someone pointing you to God, from beholding his face, or may tempt you to follow the promptings of your evil and corrupt inclinations. Let God be your fear, O people, and be ye of them that tread the path of righteousness. Say, should your conduct, O people, contradict your oh my Lord, should your conduct, O people, contradict your professions, meaning what you say, how think ye then to be able to distinguish yourselves from them who, though professing their faith in the Lord their God, have, as soon as he came unto them in the cloud of holiness, refused to acknowledge him and repudiated his truth? Disencumber yourselves of all attachment to this world and the vanities thereof. Beware that ye approach them not, inasmuch as they prompt you to walk after your own lusts and covetous desires, and hinder you from entering the straight and glorious path. In this next passage, and this is what really grabbed me, he defines the world. Know ye that by the world is meant your unawareness of him who is your maker, and your absorption in aught else but him. The life to come, on the other hand, signifieth the things that give you a safe approach to God, the all-glorious, the incomparable. Whatsoever deterreth you in this day from loving God is nothing but the world. Flee it, that ye may be numbered with the blessed. Should a man wish to adorn himself with the ornaments of the earth, to wear its apparels, or partake of the benefits it can bestow, no harm can befall him, if he alloweth nothing whatever to intervene between him and God. For God hath ordained every good thing, whether created in the heavens or in the earth, for such of his servants as truly believe in him. Eat ye, O people, of the good things which God hath allowed you, and deprive not yourselves from his wondrous bounties. Render thanks and praise unto him, and be of them that are truly thankful. O thou that hast fled thy home and sought the presence of God, proclaim unto men the message of thy Lord, that it may haply deter them from following the promptings of their evil and corrupt desires. and bring them to the remembrance of God, the most exalted, the most great. This is not a phony. This is not a false prophet. This is not a wolf in sheep's clothing. Fear God, O people, and refrain from shedding the blood of anyone. Contend not with your neighbor, and be ye of them that do good. Beware that ye commit no disorders on the earth after it hath been well ordered, and follow not the footsteps of them that are gone astray. Now, this is the last part I'm going to read, but this is what you're talking about, walking the walk. Listen to this. Whoso ariseth among you to teach the cause of his Lord, let him before all else, whoso ariseth among you to teach the cause of his Lord, let him before all else teach his own self, that his speech may attract the hearts of them that hear him. Unless he teaches his own self, the words of his mouth will not influence the heart of the seeker. Take heed, O people, lest ye be of them that give good counsel to others, but forget to follow it themselves. The words of such as these, and beyond the words, the realities of all things, and beyond these realities, the angels that are nigh unto God bring against them the accusation of falsehood. I will not continue, but I want to. I mean, I read this, you know, I remember years ago when I, you know, was really just drinking in the faith, and I had this book. This book is, I don't even know if it's in print anymore, The Writings of Bahá'u'lláh. I don't know that it's in print anymore, but what'd you do with my tissue, Daryll? You stole my tissue, didn't you? I was having breakfast at a little, you know, a little dinette or restaurant, whatever you want to call it, a little mom and pop restaurant. And there were some men sitting at the table next to me. And they were all ministers. I overheard their talking and so forth. And they saw me just reading this book. And I had it open. They didn't see the cover. I had it open. And one of the men, they were getting up to leave, and they were older gentlemen, but one of them said, that the good book you got there, son? And you know my answer. I said, yes, it's
the good book.
It's the good book. It's just one of those things that, again, I pray that for me, I mean, I am so thankful that I got a second opportunity, you know. And the opportunities are there. I think we have a lot of Baha'is that are quietly worshiping in their homes, and we're always telling people, you know, you should, you know, go on this website or that website. But I would bet that we all know that the Baha'i Faith is the most widespread religion on earth. It is not the most, you know, as far as the numbers of people, but it exists in more places than any other faith on earth. Most people are probably living close to some Baha'is.
Sure.
And don't know it. Not everybody. I mean, we still need pioneers that go out into those places and, you know, plant seeds of the faith. But I can't help encouraging people, if you are a seeker, to keep seeking here. And I pray that you find what me, a skeptic.
What you search for, absolutely.
Yeah. So I'd just like to say, I don't know, Daryll, you got anything you want to say, man?
Yes, I do. I'd like to thank all of you for inviting us to do this and to share our stories with you. We don't get to do it that often, but occasionally when we do, we kind of enjoy it, and adding the music makes it hopefully worthwhile for all of you to join in and enjoy. So the one thing that I tend to share every Sunday when we do we do a devotional every Sunday, but the one thing that I tell people is that if you are loved, you are truly blessed. If you share that love with the world around you, then your world is blessed. And it's the one thing that you can do that'll cost you nothing and improve the lives of everyone that you touch. So the one thing I ask you all to do, just share that love. Thank you for inviting us.
Thank you, Farouz. Thank you, and thank you everyone for being here. I'm wondering if maybe I'm not going to say that. I tend to get silly sometimes, and so I'm not going to go with the silly right now.
Thank you, Farouz.
I'm speechless. It was such a beautiful evening. I can hardly talk.
Well, then let me say something. No. That's me getting silly again. I'm sorry. But thank you, Farouz.
Thank all of you for sticking it out.
Yeah. You know, one thing, I don't know about you, but when we get the opportunity to do these, I don't know, my mind goes places, and I remember things, sometimes things I've read in the writings, and sometimes interactions with others, and sometimes just random events that now for me have spiritual value, spiritual significance. And so I always appreciate, you know, these opportunities and these invitations.
For sure.
You know, because you go in, we can't deny that, you know, it's performance, but it's not phony. It's not pretend. I mean, it's not concocted. I don't know what the right word is. And we certainly don't, you know, every time my voice cracks or whatever, I'm like, oh man, I just ruined it, you know, which I did a couple of times, and I flubbed a word here and there. But overall, I think of how these opportunities allow us to do exactly what we've been directed to do in the writings, and that is teach the faith. So again, thank you, Farouz, and thank all of you. Thank you so much. I see a hand up there. Yes. Maybe not.
I just wanted to thank you, Daryll and Tony, for just such a beautiful evening, for sharing your heartfelt stories and beautiful art with us. It was truly inspiring. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
This is a labor of love for us.
Yes. I see some other folks with yes, miss. Please.
Hi. So thank you so much. I feel so blessed. I could relate to so many things. My journey has been so similar to yours. So many ways. I don't have time now to go, but I would like to know, where could I get the music so I can learn some of these? Do you have the sheet music? What? Why is it funny?
We laugh because
I'm serious. I'm serious.
And I know you are. Forgive us for laughing. We are not laughing at you. We are laughing at us. All I have is I don't read music. I write and I write just chord progressions, and that's all I've got. I don't mind sharing what we have with you, but if you are one of those highly skilled musicians, and you'll look at them and say, "What the heck is this?" And some of my chord progressions, the way I've written them, are wrong. Daryll just knows how to follow them. He is actually the more highly skilled musician, and he can look and say, like, "Oh, I know what he means by this," and he's just too nice. But I mean, well, again,
if it's possible, thank you.
Sure. It is possible we could share. I don't have a problem with that. If anyone wants to contact me, I don't mind. I know that Farouz definitely has my email address. I don't mind her sharing it. You know,
well, there are 2 CDs that some of the songs are on.
Yeah.
The one called Dawn Moth and the other one called Souls of the Fireside.
Yeah.
And those 2 CDs are available through Tony. So
Yeah, and the truth is, other than the cost of postage, which I'm finding is a heck of a lot more than I thought it would be, I just kind of, if you were next door, I'd just say, here, you can have these. But if you'd like, again, my contention is most people don't listen to CDs anymore. Obviously, I am wrong.
Yeah.
There are people that still listen to CDs. There's still a point to having CDs. And if you'd like a CD, I'd have to find out first and foremost, what's the, postage on that? What does it cost? And of course, I'd want to be reimbursed on that. But as far as charging you for it, they've been gathering dust so long. I don't know. Software may have changed to play them. I honestly don't know.
Yeah, and I'll give you a heads up. Most of the music that we play now is not on those CDs.
Yeah, it's a lot of them. Yeah, most of it is things we've written since then, but there are a few.
But
like We Are One Family is up there.
yeah, a lot of what we play is, I have to say, for me, it's impromptu. I recognize the chord progressions that he does, and I've never looked at a piece of sheet music for this stuff that we do. So I look at the chords that he's written and I kind of follow along with that, but that's it.
And he tells me sometimes, no, that's just bad. So
sometimes he has a tendency to change keys in the middle of a
Hey.
song, but hey, hopefully we correct those things before we share them with the rest of the world. So.
yeah. So again, thank you. I'm sorry, please.
Yeah, I just wanted to read a few things on the chat, but please, you can go ahead and speak as long as you want. We are loving it. It says, so beautiful and touching. Thank you, Tony and Daryll. Then says, so divine. Another person, Suzanne, so beautiful. Then it says, divine is the right word. So wonderful. Thank you so much. The words that come from the heart absorbs by the heart. So how can I get the recording? So I want you to know that everyone really shares the feeling, and Albert has written so many beautiful things for you too, but since he's your friend, I'm not going to read it. He can say it himself. Go for it, Albert.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. I don't know how this thing works. I borrowed it from school. That was really, really good. But I think you guys are really you're equally good at being comedians and at being artists and at being teachers. And the spirit really comes through. Really enjoyed it so much. I did want to shout out to Diana. Hi, Diana. She came.
Hi.
And Scott Lee. I don't know where he's at, but he's somewhere in here. And he came to see you all tonight. And you should do this more often because it's a very good medium to present really deep ideas. I am going to do and with Scott Lee, we are going to do a presentation on the advent of divine justice, sort of a personal guide to really transforming the human soul. And our focus will be on the most vital and challenging issue. So we're hoping that you pick that up. It's in the chat. I can't go give you all the details. I think it's at 7 o'clock on the 27th of July. But thank you. Everyone wants to tell you thank you. I know they do. So, and I want to say one other thing. I'm a school teacher, and I say that because that's where I get most of my ideas from, the children. Everyone should feel the way that you feel now. Everyone should be getting this kind of praise from each other so that we can all grow and become better human beings. So I really enjoy what you said, Daryll, about love and then spreading that love to others. Some folks say pay it forward, right? Yeah. So but this idea is much deeper than just one thought. It's in every dimension without prejudice. Seeing no one as a stranger, the end of foreigners, no such thing. Oneness of humankind. Thank you so much for tonight, and thank you so much, Oakville community. We appreciate you as well for presenting this and having this on here tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just wanted to read this from Malaysia. So true what you said. You don't need to know music to compose a song.
That is true. That is true. You know who didn't know how to write music? Who didn't even read music? Michael Jackson.
Right.
And I mean, you know, even though this is a Baha'i gathering, and he was not a
Neither
Baha'i.
did Duke Ellington.
What?
No.
Well, you know, I keep thinking about I should take some music lessons, but now I'm not even going to. No. Wow, I did not know that about Duke Ellington. I think most people probably knew it about Michael Jackson, but Duke Ellington.
I may be wrong. Count Basie.
Count Basie.
Count
Still?
Basie. Count Basie was not Duke. Duke Ellington could read, but Count Basie could not.
You know, I saw Count Basie in his later years, and that explains why there was no sheet music on the piano. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tony and Daryll, I wanted you to know that we have a lady here who chants prayers like angels in the sky. We usually start a devotional at 8:30, but because your whole program was a devotional, we were just absorbing it. But people who want to stay for devotional, they are more than welcome. In case you wanted to go, I wanted to see if you are able to leave and listen to Tara. And we also have Juliet and Leo from Malaysia. Are you here? Maybe not. Maybe not. But Tara is here, and then Pina is here too. But oh yeah, okay, wonderful, Leo. Very welcome. Thank you for joining us early in the morning. Where is Juliet?
Oh, she's joining. So.
That's wonderful.
Thank you. We didn't miss it.
Oh, I'm sure. Thank you very much. Thank you. So may we start with Tara, and at any point, if anyone would like to leave, you're more than welcome. And thank you for coming. It was a wonderful evening of warmth, love, knowledge, music, and stories. It really warmed my heart. And thank you, Tony, and thank you, Daryll. It was a privilege to be here with you.
Thank you, and it was a privilege to be with you as well.
Privilege was ours.
Yes, but I have to now turn into a chauffeur. I have to go pick up my daughter from work, so I would really like to stay, but I cannot.
No problem. No problem. Thank you for being here. Bye. We will start our devotional with Tara. Tara, please. Much love, Tony, and much love, Daryll. Thank you for being here. See you soon.
Alawapa, everyone.
Alawapa. Thank you.
Allah, just checking my voice is okay.
Perfect.
It was amazing. I choose the same one of the hidden word piece. به نام گوینده توانا ای پسر خوش ساحتیه ساحت هستی اگر اندر آیی و نیکو بساطی است بساط باقی اگر از ملک فانی برتر خرامی و ملیح است نشاط مستی اگر ساغر معانی از ید غلام الهی بیاشامی اگر به این مراتب فائز شوی از نیستی و فنا و محنت و خطا فارغ گردی
Mr. Liu.
Okay, let's pray. Wahai putera wujud sebelah daku di bumiku. Wahai putera wujud sebelah daku di bumiku, supaya di syurgaku aku dapat ingat di kau, supaya di syurgaku aku dapat ingat di kau. Demikianlah mata diriku dan dirimu akan dihiburkan. Demikianlah mata diriku dan dirimu akan dihiburkan.
Hina, will you read a Malaysian? Oh, perfect. Thank you.
Sorry, this is the newly composed prayer, a newly translated prayer by Abdul Baha. Lord, so rich in bounty, so replete with grace, whose knowledge doth mine inmost heart and soul embrace. At more, the solace of my soul is not but thee. The knower of my loss and woe is none but thee. The heart that for a moment had dimension, no, seek no friend, save longing pain for thee alone. Withered be the heart that sigheth not for thee, and better blind the eye that crieth not for thee. In all mine hours of deepest gloom, Lord of might, my heart hath thy remembrance for shine light. Do through thy flavor breathe thy spirit into me, that what hath never been may thus forever be. Consider not our merits and our worth, Lord of bounty, but the grace thou puttest forth upon these broken winged birds, whose flight is slow. Out of thy tender mercy, you found wings bestow, you found wings bestow. Abdul-Baha.
Sue ML.
Yes, I will. I'm pulling up a prayer now. Thank you. He is God. O thou who circlest in adoration about the spot round which circle the concourse on high, raise thou thy hands in gratitude at the threshold of the one true God and say, O thou, the highest aspiration of every ardent lover, O thou, the guide of every wandering soul, thou hast favored this feeble servant with thine infinite blessings, and led this hapless and lowly one unto the threshold of thy oneness. Thou hast lifted to these parched lips the living waters of thy loving kindness, and revived this weary and withered soul with the breezes of divine mercy. I yield thee thanks for having bestowed upon me a full portion from thy most gracious favor, and invested me with the honor of attaining thy sacred threshold. I beseech an infinite share from the bounties of thy kingdom on high. Grant thine assistance. Confer thy gracious favor. Abdu'l-Baha.
Albert, could you finish off tonight, please, with a closing prayer?
Sure. Glorified art thou, O Lord my God. I beseech thee by him whom is the most great name, who hath been sorely afflicted by such of thy creatures as have been repudiated by thy truth, and who hath been hemmed in by sorrows which no tongue can describe, to grant that I may remember thee and celebrate thy praise in these days when all have turned away from thy beauty, have disputed with thee, and have turned away disdainfully from him whom is the revealer of thy cause. None is there, O my Lord, to help thee except thine own self, and no power succor thee save thine own power. I entreat thee to enable me to cleave steadfastly to the love of thy remembrance. This is verily within my power, and thou art the one that knoweth all that is in me. Thou in truth art knowing, appraised of all. Deprive me not, O my Lord, of the splendors of the light of thy face, whose brightness has illuminated the whole world. No God is there besides thee, the most powerful, the all-glorious, the ever-forgiving.
Thy name is my healing, O my God, and remembrance of thee is my remedy. Nearness to thee is my hope, and love for thee is my companion. Thy mercy to me is my healing, and my succor in both this world and the world to come. Thou verily art, thou art bountiful, thou art knowing, thou art alive. Bahá'u'lláh.
Friends, thank you so very much for being here tonight. It was a very, very inspiring evening for me. I don't know if you enjoyed this evening, but I really, really enjoyed it. I'm very grateful to these two wonderful, wonderful artists who serve with their art beautifully. Pina, what you, I am amazed how beautiful that was, and I would like to see if next week you can kindly attend, if it's possible, to share this prayer of Abdu'l-Baha. I really, really appreciate it. Sue, love, 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 love you. Thank you for being here.
My honor.
Thank you.
My honor. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Albert, thank you so much. Thank you for being here. Oh, Juliet, I didn't see Juliet, but Mr. Liu, that's wonderful to see you. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it. Tara Jan, I love you, Azizam. Thank you. It was so wonderful. It was the most beautiful voice. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. It was
Thank
one of the best fireside you had. always, it's wonderful. Today was the most wonderful one. Thank you.
Thank you. This was, hi, Juliet. How love you. How much I love you. Thank you, Juliet. Thank you for waking up early today. Thank you. آقای دکتر حسام, thank you so very much. سیمی خانم خوش آمدین. پریچر خانم عزیزم, I love you. You are muted. You're muted, پریچر خانم. Okay. Okay.
I enjoyed being tonight with you. It was very good, Furuzande Jun. Thank you very much.
Mahvash Jun, thank you. Thank you for joining us and thank you for inviting your friends. Pina, that was a beautiful composition. Thank you so much.
خیلی ممنون عزیزم.
Azizam. Thank you. Merci bien, Gibi. See you next week. You're always there, Gibi. Love you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Love you all. Thank you, Dr. Hessam. خانم قربانی شما خیلی خوش آمدین.
خوشحال شدیم دیدیم اسمون. خیلی ممنون واسه برنامه خیلی خوبه.
Merci. Thank you so much. Tara, I love you. Juliet, Leo, Gibby, all, Dr. Valerie Dawn, probably you're resting, but I love you too. You always prove me wrong. Valerie Dawn, why do you do that to me? You always prove me wrong. I love you, sister. I love you. Dr. Valerie Dawn is a sister. Gibby is a sister. You're all a sister. Of course, Tara is my baby. So, love you, love you. Pina, love you, love you. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I really enjoyed it.
I'm so glad. And Violet, I don't know which Violet you are, but whoever you are, welcome and thank you for being here. Good evening, everyone. See you next week. There's going to be a fantastic program next week, but I won't share it with you. Love you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I love her.
You have to leave so I can end the evening. I can't, it breaks my heart.
Allahu Akbar. Everyone love you all.
Love you. Valerie Dawn, I love you. I love you. I love you. And you, don't worry about it. You danced with that music. Wow. Wow, I loved it. Thank you. Thank you. Whenever I'm going to book for Shah's Festival, I'm going to call you while I'm booking in to see if you're available. Okay, so is Af